and welcome to Escaping Kasterborous, the podcast where we rewatch, reminisce, and review everything Doctor Who from 2005 to present. My name is Rich, and I'm joined by the one person who will always try the chips. It's Amy.
I will always try the chips because chips are the best.
For once, I'm not just insulting you, I am stating but a fact. About your existence on this planet, which is...
chips in front of me, they will be eaten.
She eats the chips, but she stays thick.
Yep, basically.
Or gets more thick, depending on how many chips you eat. But that goes for anyone, really.
I mean...
I guess.
What can we do?
Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to Series 2, episode number 3.
Is it only
reunion.
episode 3?
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, whoops. Aired on the 29th of April 2006, written by Toby Whithouse. That's a surprise.
I do not know who that is.
I thought it'd be written by Russell T Davies because of the big thing in this episode.
The big thing?
Yeah, the big thing. You know, the big thing about school reunion.
Oh. What?
Go on.
Do you mean the father Sarah Jane Smith, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, great. I got that right. I was like, is this I was sat here going, is this a spoiler? And then I was like, wait, no, because this is a rewatch, so therefore we can talk about the episode.
We can, yes. Elizabeth Sladen, the late, great Elizabeth Sladen,
R.I.P.
returns to Doctor Who is, unless I'm mistaken, and I'm just being a complete muppet, which I probably am.
You probably are. You normally are.
Is she the only classic companion to have come back in modern Doctor Who?
I think so.
I know that, obviously, other companions have come back in, like, the Sarah Jane Adventures. Big Finish doesn't really count as coming back, as it were. I just hit my microphone stand there and enjoy that. I tried to do some air quotes. I just twanged my microphone. Enjoy that. I think she's the only one.
I think she is. I don't remember anybody else.
Unless there is somebody completely glaring that I've completely forgotten.
If there is, correct us in the comments below, because I'd like to know.
I'm genuinely just trying to think, because, like, no other companion back then, or no other companion now, has that same kind of clout.
Yeah.
That Sarah Jane Smith had. She was the Doctor Who companion in the same way that Tom Baker was the Doctor. Mm-hmm. So getting her back was almost a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So she comes back when the Doctor, Rose, and Mickey go to Deffrey Vale.
Indeed.
To check out some weird happenings at the school. Try the chips.
I would just like to point out, now, the recording of this podcast, as you well know, has been a little while since the last one. This is what
I was going to get. I realised I was getting too deep down the rabbit hole. Let's just talk about the episode rather than talk about the elephant in the room.
I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there. It has been a week and a half since we watched the episode because we attempted to watch it on whatever night it was. Wednesday.
It was a Wednesday. It was like
the first week of November.
Yeah, it was Wednesday the 4th.
And everyone was setting off fireworks, and so therefore we couldn't record because of the noise outside.
Yeah, it's been it's something I really should have opened with, but obviously when we started this podcast, it was very much going to be a weekly affair. Mm-hmm. But with back when that happened, you know, we weren't in lockdown.
We were in sort of main.
Actually, no, we were. We might have been.
I think we were.
And like your schedule was completely open. Yeah. Basically, mine was completely open. And then obviously as time has gone on, as much as like, just to put into perspective how long it's been, we are back in lockdown now.
Yeah. Lockdown 2, as people are calling it. We
are currently in lockdown 2 here in the UK until December the 2nd. But as said, life gets in the way. Genuinely, we you know, as we've said before, there have been times where we've genuinely been out because we've actually been doing things like, you know, like we used to back when life was normal. And yeah, as Amy said, it got very loud here in Newcastle, as it did all over the flipping country on the Wednesday, because obviously it's the night before lockdown. And all about the hoose. Well, lots of loud bangs because people were being out.
Because it was the night before lockdown, but it was also the night before firework night. So
yeah, Guy Fawkes night here in the UK. So the fireworks everywhere, and genuinely the fireworks continued for like a good week. Mm-hmm. Like one of my friends was saying, he's probably still got fireworks going on now. It's just been constant for him.
Ridiculous.
Which is a shame. And then, as said, life happens. I've been in to work a couple of times. We revealed today that we partnered with Logitech G to do some stuff on the gaming channel. So I've been in and out of the office, sorting out that.
Busy covering shifts and doing my business and just so we've really not had a lot of time to be recording. So from this point on, I think we're probably going to say like this is just going to be, unfortunately, an as and when release. Like we're trying to keep up with it as best as possible. And obviously, on that note, there will obviously be times over Christmas when we won't be doing it because we record this in our own time. Like, it's not a work thing for either of us.
Yeah, I think that's something I'd like to clarify. I mean, obviously, I've had people tweet me and people ask in the Discord, like, where's the podcast? Sometimes a little bit aggressively. And I would like... yeah, it is a bit. Where's the next podcast? Come on! Like, I would like to just clarify that Amy and I produce this entirely in our own time.
Currently, it's 8:15 on a Wednesday evening.
I could be playing Call of Duty, guys. We produce this entirely ourselves. WhoCulture host it on the WhoCulture side and with sort of our contacts over at Acast, which we're very, very grateful for. But that's because it has to be. Mm-hmm. That's just the way things work. So I don't think I get away with doing a Doctor Who podcast in my own time entirely independently, while I actually do get paid during work hours to produce content for the WhoCulture channel that you see in terms of lists, and well, it's basically just lists.
Yeah.
Occasionally news, maybe some more editorials in the future, but yeah, we do produce this in our own time. So, as I said,
I don't get paid for doing it at all.
You don't get paid. I mean, technically, I don't get paid for it either. As said, we do this in our own time. Sometimes life gets in the way that our schedule works as a household doesn't always lend itself to giving us this time to do it, because it takes, if we in a great scenario, perfect scenario, it would be like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It would be 45 minutes to watch the episode, 15 minutes to come upstairs, get set up, and then start recording for an hour. That would be the dream, but it's never always the case.
Nope.
So we do have to take an evening off doing whatever else we might be doing to do this. So thank you for supporting the podcast. I can't stress that enough. Thank you. But also can't stress enough, please bear with us.
Yeah,
I know
we're
that
trying.
you guys have enjoyed it, and it is really great, and it's so cool to hear that you guys enjoy this podcast. But yeah, it is something that we do. We'll be doing as and when. We're going to try and stick to it every week or every 2 weeks at a minimum. That's probably more realistic for us.
I was going to say, I
week.
wouldn't say every week, because it's not going to happen.
Because it's almost like, because I said it's in our own time, imagine like you work for a solid day and then it's like, I'm going to come home and do more. Like, you just keep going. And it's like, as said, like last Wednesday, when we were originally going to record the podcast, I was in the office for whatever reason, and I came home and I genuinely just crashed.
He was in bed by 8 o'clock and
it was
asleep
8 o'clock
by
and
8
I was
o'clock.
fast asleep. I was gone because I was downstairs just
dying,
just completely gone. I was on the sofa like on a different planet. I'm like, I am in no state to try and force myself to sit and record. And as much as the beauty of like a podcast is you don't have to perform, as it were. Like last night on Twitch, I finished an hour early because I was just tired, and I still was awake. I didn't I was straight to bed. I was still up, but I wasn't live because doing that sort of performance side really takes it out of you.
It does. It really does.
So especially when you're on for 3 hours and you have to literally like talk to yourself.
Essentially.
So yeah, it's a weird situation that we're in with this podcast. So I just figured I'd be clear with you, who, dear listener, that this is the current situation the podcast has. So please bear with us. And I know that everyone has been very nice, but please also don't be the kind of person to start badgering us.
Yeah, because
that won't be appreciated.
We do have, we are people. We have lives. We have stuff
we have jobs,
that we have to do.
Contrary to popular belief, this is not our job. It's not
our
my job. As said, I don't get paid for this.
Neither do I.
I'm doing this, or we're doing this, because we want to. And the sort of benefit of that and the curse of that is we can do that whenever we like. So if we're in a position where we're really horrifically exhausted from a long day, a long week, or we have to go karting, then we can.
And we actually did have to because my mum bought me the voucher for Christmas. So.
And we needed to get it in before the voucher expired because they'd extended it once thanks to the first lockdown. We thought we need to get this in before, inevitably the second lockdown happens, and lo and behold, here we are. Anyway, let's talk about Doctor Who. So we hope we cleared that up. Let's talk about school reunion. School reunion. So I before we got sidetracked, and yes, should have really opened with that. Deathry Vale is a very much how schools look in the UK.
Very
it's pretty much bang on
British not high school, secondary school.
I mean, yeah, we don't call it high school. We call it secondary school.
No, that's why I said secondary school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very typical British secondary school.
Although lots of chips, that isn't a thing. Like when I was at school and we had hot dinners, they did chips once a week, and then at the time Jamie Oliver waltzed in and went, "School dinners need to be redone," and the chips became like literal cardboard.
Well, good. I didn't have hot dinners. I had packed lunches.
Did you have hot dinners available?
Yeah, I just never ate them. Like,
I think in year 10 and 11 I switched back to solely lunches.
Mum always just made us pack dinners. Packed. Jesus Christ, what am I saying? Packed lunches.
Packed lunch. Don't call it.
I don't call it dinner. Because up here in the north,
dinner, tea.
In the north, they call it breakfast, dinner, tea, but I would call it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So
I prefer lunch, dinner, egg, personally.
Lunch, dinner, egg, exactly.
That's still a thing.
So
so we've got Anthony Head playing Mr. Finch, not of the J. Pierpont variety. If you know,
no one's gonna get that reference.
Please tweet me as to what I mean by that.
If you understand that reference, you are a nerd.
I will send you a
lunch,
Twitter
dinner,
cookie.
egg T-shirt. That don't
a lunch,
exist.
dinner, egg T-shirt that's signed, and you'll get it in a fortnight's time because get it. I'm making Fortnite jokes, not as in flossing and.
Are you okay?
Fortnite.
Please be quiet.
Fortnite between podcasts jokes. Anyway, we have Anthony Head in, who before Doctor Who, what did you know him in? What did you do?
Oh my god, I knew him from Little Britain.
I think that might be the same. Yeah,
because he was in Little Britain.
He's the Prime Minister.
Of course he was.
Because David Williams' character, what's he called?
Oh, Sebastian.
Sebastian has a massive crush on him.
Oh my god!
And
yeah.
I know that he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Prime Minister.
Yeah, he was in Buffy, which I've never watched.
No, Laura watched Buffy, but I never did.
And he's also Isn't he Will's dad in In-Betweeners?
I have no idea. You know, I've never.
I might be making that up. Anyway, so yeah, Anthony Head's in, who is like. I can understand why David Williams has this infatuation about him because there's just something about Anthony Head.
The Silver Fox.
And I'm sorry that somebody in the comments of last week mentioned that we talked about the intro and then just simped over David Tennant for an hour, and it's like we're now just going to simp over Anthony Head. No, I think Anthony Head is fantastic. He has this fantastically creepy aura about him,
especially in this episode.
And this creepy but calm aura. Like he quite apt that he's a teacher or he's a head teacher in this. That he has this like sound exterior. He's super chill.
Yeah. And
he will very rarely raise his voice, but every student will always be on edge that if you tip him over the edge, he will eat you alive is quite literal in this sense. But like I bet he was a teacher that the kids respected.
Oh yeah, he's
but
like
also,
one of those quiet
we're
but
terrified of him still.
Without relating this to a fart, he was one of those quiet but deadly ones.
Quiet but deadly?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't say silent.
But deadly.
No, you wouldn't say he was a silent teacher because he wasn't silent, was he? He was quiet but deadly.
Next time I do one, I'm gonna say, "Oh, that's quiet but deadly."
Well, I say silent and violent because it rhymes.
We've gone from Anthony Head to farts,
as per usual with this.
We
podcast.
hope you've missed the podcast, guys. But actually, just speaking about Anthony Head, because obviously the episode opens, the cold open is the girl who's an orphan.
Oh yeah,
and she's like, "Oh, I had a headache," because you remember at school you got sent home having a headache.
Yeah, Jesus.
And nowadays it's like, "Oh, suck it up."
Nowadays, if you cut your finger off in like I don't know, IT or IT, what was I? Not T, not IT. What is it? Tech in
DT.
DT.
Design technology.
Now, if you cut your finger off in DT, you wouldn't get sent home. It'd just be like, stick a wet paper towel on it. You'll be alright.
The only thing I can think of when you say about cutting your finger off in IT would be either making a joke about cut and paste, because
For God's sake, of course.
or you're in IT building a PC, which I wish they did.
No.
In IT, and you cut yourself with an IO shield, because all of you PC nerds who are listening, if you know what an IO shield is, you know that thing's sharper than hell.
Yeah.
It's awful. Anyway.
No, I meant DT, okay?
Yeah.
And you would just be like, stick a wet paper towel on it, because that's how all British teachers...
Thank you, Mrs. Lumbus in primary school, for applying the wet blue paper towel to my knee.
Literally.
And go on, you little tit.
Off you
Piss
go.
off.
That's literally how they solved everything. If you got a cut, wet paper towel. If you fell over, wet paper towel.
Miss, my arm's fallen off. She's
just stick a
dabbing
wet
at the
paper
wound
towel on it.
with a bit of paper towel.
And they were blue. Yeah. They were always blue.
They were always blue.
Yeah.
This young orphan gets taken into Mr. Finch's office. You poor thin child. Like, because she goes, I live at the children's home, and he goes, no parents. No one to love you.
No one to miss you.
No one to miss you.
It's like, wow. Right. Rub it in a little bit.
But
Jesus.
then, obviously, when he closes the door, he has that look in his eyes of like, it's like,
he
I'm
goes,
not going to simp again.
It's nearly
I'm not gonna
lunch.
It's almost time for lunch. I don't want to simp again. But he has that look in his face, that evil of like, I'm about to like literally kill this child. But it's also like, hey, Anthony, devour me.
I mean, I'm pretty sure she wasn't thinking that.
But one of the things that's always annoyed me about that particular section is the fact that when the child screams, it is very, very blatantly an adult scream.
Yeah, literally, it's like
it's honestly one of the parts about that episode that always infuriates me. That it is so very blatantly an adult scream.
It's such a stock noise. Like, they couldn't have just. I mean, they literally had hundreds of children in for the recording of this episode. They couldn't have just got one of them to scream and put it over the top.
Take when did I tell you about the CBB the
Blue
My movie?
Yeah.
But I said that they just got a girl to stand and scream from an iMac.
Yeah.
BBC, I'd have sent you that. Actually, no, they've already made it. I'll send you that sound. I'm gonna dig out that iMac G3 from 13 years ago, and I'll dig out that really, really distorted scream, and you're gonna use that.
Yeah,
and it still come from somebody who was
better.
about the right age. But yeah, that's always annoyed me. That particular scene, but Tennant's doing his physics thing. He's got Milo being all clever.
Good old Milo.
Good old Milo.
Who gets eaten after the next 2 minutes.
I've just looked over at my other screen and looked at the cast list. The actor that played Milo was called Clem Tibber.
What?
That's incredible.
Clem Tibber.
Clem Tibber.
Fabulous.
I
what a
love
name.
It. I know.
That's incredible.
It's great, that. So, yeah, Tennant is a teacher, Rose is a dinner lady, and Mickey is the tin dog.
Sorry, I'm about to simp again. Can we just, if you had David Tennant as your teacher, oh boy, if he was my teacher in
Everyone's
secondary
at the front
school,
of the class.
I mean, we had a hot teacher in secondary school who was Scottish, but he was very short. So compared to David Tennant, not quite, but he was really lovely and actually quite attractive, and you would not believe the way the girl swooned over him. He was nowhere near as hot as David Tennant. Like, can you imagine having David Tennant as your teacher? If I was in that room, I would literally just be like,
yep.
I wouldn't be able to learn anything.
Every podcast you will get that noise from Amy while David Tennant and Matt Smith probably are on the screen.
Matt Smith's okay.
I think I didn't have actually I don't think I had any super hot teachers at school.
I think it's a bit different for female teachers, isn't it?
I don't mean so much for female teachers, I mean just generally.
Oh, right.
I'm just trying to think. There was one teacher at school who I didn't have because she joined the school when I was in year 10, and she taught history, I think.
And you didn't take history for GCSE?
I didn't take history for GCSE, no. And she was, I think she must have been her first school, probably.
Right.
So she was very young. She was very skinny, and she was blonde.
Wow.
And I barely ever even heard her speak. She was a very, very timid woman, it seemed. And the only real story I ever heard about her was the fact that one kid in my year, who funnily enough wasn't the class dickhead, he was a really sound lad, and for some reason he went up to the front of the class and asked for a number. I got put in isolation.
What an idiot!
And it was just Dude, did you really? Why? I expected, this guy or this guy to do that, but not you. Like, are you
Maybe
really
he genuinely
simping?
was that into her.
Are you simping this hard for what? Genuinely can't remember what her name is.
Oh, that's
genuinely
funny.
don't know. But yeah, so hot teachers aside, I'm sort of picturing the staff room scene at the moment with when Sarah Jane gets introduced.
See, I'm just picturing the scene where he's like stood in the front of class asking all the physics
Amy,
questions.
that's all you're ever picturing. I mean,
just David in a suit, like.
So the entirety of Doctor Who, and especially when he puts his brainy specs on. Anyway, good evening, class.
That's why I'm picturing him in that part of
right.
the
Anyway,
thing.
So Sarah Jane's introduced, and that elation on the Doctor's face, like, I think
he looks so adorable when she comes in the room.
Tennant in this scene, I feel like he knows exactly how to act this. Because obviously Tennant is a massive Doctor Who super fan. This is known. He knows how the Doctor would be feeling in that instance. But I think also shining through in that particular scene is David himself simping for Elizabeth Sladen. Like,
Not simping, that's the wrong word.
I'm just using a relevant word to our conversation thus far. The fact
he's
that
just
he's
in
seeing,
total awe of her, I think.
He's seeing, like, arguably, like, a hero of hers. I mean, I might be completely wrong. I'm pretty certain he was watching back then. Maybe not. I don't know. But he will have known of Sarah Jane Smith, like, growing up anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
So he's got that elation is both the Doctor being excited to see her again, but also
I can't believe I'm working with Elizabeth Sladen. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's so wholesome to see, and it's so.
He just
cute.
looks so cute when she comes in the room, and he's like, "Oh my god!" You just see his face light up, and he's like,
"Yeah, he
Sarah
literally
Jane
like
Smith.
glows," which is so cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah, and also introduced is Kenny.
The little kid, the short chubby kid.
Yeah, played by Joe Pickley. Got some good names.
Good names
for these actors. Who's the kid who's not allowed to try doesn't eat the chips. His mum says because obviously at the school, as Anthony Head, Mr. Finch explains to Sarah Jane, all the school dinners are free because the chips have krill oil, makes them clever, they can break the Scasis paradigm, etc., etc. But Kenny's not allowed to try the chips, so I wonder whether it's not really explored as much. I'm assuming that when this oil also gives them a bit of like control over the children, they're more
receptive.
What's the word I'm thinking of? No, not susceptible to like commands.
Yeah. Well, I suppose they are.
Or what's susceptible? I mean, susceptible is like the right kind of word, but
yeah,
it's not
like receptive
the
is
word I'm
kind
thinking
of
of.
like what you mean.
But yeah, they're more open to be sort of manipulated. Like the fact that there's that girl who you see a couple of times in the episode, the one who's like, it says to Kenny, "Oh, class is back
Break
already.
time's
Isn't that
over early. Isn't that great?"
Yeah, exactly. Which you'll never hear any British school kid say that to you
ever.
So. Break time is a very important time.
I mean, at my break times, we had kids just setting fire to bins, so if that gives you any sort of...
My break times, we used to hang under a tree by the car park of the college that was literally right next door to the school. So we'd see all the people at the college were like, 17, 18, with their first cars. It's like, oh, you've got a Citroen Saxo with the exhaust silencer taken off. Oh, how big's your dick?
There goes Bay in his Corsa.
Yeah, there goes my future husband in his Corsa that he just revved extremely loudly as he drove past me. And also, we used to hang under a tree that one kid decided to set fire to with a lighter and a deodorant can.
Great.
Managed to stamp it out before it got bad, but that was fun. God, I love that tree because we're also by the where the caretaker would dump all the grass trimmings.
We didn't really have much grass in my school. Like there was a huge bit of field, but it was kind of blocked off.
Field was huge.
Ours was just kind of like paved. Because it was in like two buildings where you had like a kind of like walkways between the two buildings, so everything like on the ground was just paved all the way around the school, and then you had like the back bit where you had like the slight grassy area, and then it went down to like all the football pitches, and it was massive, but they just fenced most of it off.
That's a shame.
I know.
Anyway,
we've gone off tangent again.
We're going to so many little tangents to school because it's a school reunion. We're going back to school,
and we haven't been at school for how old is this going to make you feel? 8 years? 9 years? 8 years.
8 years.
We graduated year 11 in 2011.
Sixth form was 2013.
Yes.
We finished.
So we haven't been to school
9
for
years since
7 years.
Normal school.
Oh!
Oh my. But yeah, so Kenny sees one of the teachers under the desk as a bat.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I like how they got the black teacher to have the darkest skin Krillitane.
I actually quite enjoyed that because it sort of was
I like it. I just find it kind of strange that there's still kind of this like you have like pale and darker Krillitane bats to represent the white.
But then I
teachers.
suppose like it's kind of like humans, isn't it? Why would you not have like?
Yeah, it's true.
Because I mean, if they've adopted, if they're invading loads of different planets and they take on different things of different species, then I suppose one different species out there. Thought that, like, I can't say species.
Skin tone would be a thing for the amalgamative.
Well, I guess maybe they invaded someone who had different skin tones. I mean, you know.
But Mr. Finch doesn't. Mr. Finch isn't like. I think I asked the question to you when we started the episode. Like, is like because I think you or did you? I
think I said it to you. I was like, why is he always a human?
And it turns out it's because he literally takes the form of a human,
because he prefers it.
Yeah, because he likes it. A personal favourite.
Even though I don't think they've ever overtaken the humans, so
I think he's
just a disguise.
It seems to be that. No, I think Krillitanes like potentially have like relative free will.
I guess
to do as they please, but they probably work together in a pack. But maybe because Mr. Finch is very blatantly the leader,
maybe
of that little pack, so maybe he's like, well, I'm going to do what I want. Doesn't. You guys stick to the straight and narrow. I'll do what I like.
Maybe he can. He just doesn't.
Yeah, maybe just the the Queen could be a bat for a weekend. We'll continue to be humans. We'll just do as we do because we all answer to the Queen here in the UK. A big insight into the British life for all of you non-Brits
really
listening to the podcast.
It's really not.
It's really not.
I barely answer to my, I don't know, teachers at school, bringing it back to relevancy. I don't listen to the Queen.
No, but actually, do you know what? I realised I actually wrote some stuff down.
Okay, that would be helpful.
I've just remembered that I wrote like 2 things down. I just hit my mic on again.
Going off tangent.
Because we realised that we weren't able to film this like straight after we record like you normally do. So
I wrote Good. I'm glad you took notes because I did not.
Yeah, the 3 things I wrote down, we've already covered 2 of them.
Great.
So it's okay.
Okay, fab.
The other thing is not until right at the end.
Cool.
So yeah, let's go back. Let's go to when the Doctor, Rose, Mickey, and Sarah Jane all break back into the school. Rose has seen the dinner lady get covered in Krillitane oil, starts to fizzle and like flash up in the side room in the kitchen and so on. So she says to Mickey, like, you were right to...
It's fine. She does that.
Super dry humour line. She's, you were right to call us in. There's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
So in they come and... You have I love the sequence of the bats like coming through the school that you don't see them necessarily, and they're all reacting to it, and then you have that fantastic build up to Sarah Jane walking into the PE cupboard.
Yeah,
to find the TARDIS, because it's like almost like you don't realize what she's going to see. It could almost like obviously now we've seen it, we know that that's the case, but maybe back then, maybe when you first watched it, if there are people who are listening who did watch this for the first time along with this podcast, I think by the guessings of questions and like comments we've had, I'm assuming the people who listen to this have already seen it. But like, do you think people may have seen that and thought maybe she was about to see something else? Maybe she was about to see Mr. Finch stood there waiting to see her. Because arguably he is still in the school.
It almost seems like when she walks in and gets like almost kind of like shocked and scared that she's going to have walked into like a room full of bats or like,
a room full of dead children.
Yeah, something like that. But then the camera turns around and it's the TARDIS. And I love the way they lit it to make it almost sinister as well.
They lit it from beneath like you're telling a story on a campfire.
Yeah.
And then it comes with that sort of Doctor's theme.
She like backs out.
And then the camera rotates around.
And he's behind her.
And just the fact that he stood there, she realises who he is.
She's like, it's you. And the John Smith must have been a clue anyway. Because she was like, I had a friend who used to go by John Smith.
I think because it's been so long and it seems to be that she's been, as a journalist, she was always a journalist, like the fact that she was always investigating and stuff and even to the slightly paranormal.
Yeah.
She's probably had like I wonder how many people she might have seen between the end of her time with Tom Baker and to now, to how many people she's looked at and gone, are you actually him? Yeah.
I don't know. You don't actually really meet many people called John Smith, though, do you? Like, I don't know anyone called John Smith.
No, nor do I.
So...
No, I don't think so, anyway. I might be missing somebody. I don't think I do. But yeah, then again, like we see Tennant's elation for seeing Sarah Jane. We see Sarah Jane's elation, and then suddenly she just drops down to, you could have died. I thought you died.
You left me.
Yeah, full on emotion.
I mean, I suppose you would. Like, you haven't seen this person in...
Yeah, it's as if, like, you know,
everything she thought since that day.
A relative you adored that you know has passed away just suddenly comes back because you didn't realise they weren't actually gone.
And everything you thought has just come tumbling out of your mouth because you just think, oh my God, I need to get everything out right this second. Otherwise it's just not worth it.
No, not at all. But we haven't really talked about Rose or Mickey much yet because until this point, they're not that
relevant.
They're not that relevant, but when Sarah Jane comes back in, there's the Mrs. and the X thing. Because you don't really... Every man's worst nightmare, the Mrs. and the X. You don't see that often in Doctor Who.
Mm-mm.
Not really. Especially not with a gap this large. As I said, the Sarah Jane is, as far as I'm aware, like, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in the main Doctor Who, New Who series, we've not had old companions from Classic Who come back. Not yet, anyway. So we haven't had this experience before, and yeah, the idea that Rose gets that realization of, wait, I'm not the first person to travel with you, and as the audience, well, duh. But then, we get to see that explored. We see Sarah Jane being excited to see, oh, like, this is the person who gets to experience this. Like, you don't see that kind of jealousy from Sarah Jane. She's been there, she's had it, and as much as there is this idea of, so you're traveling with him now. Fine. There isn't that kind of spiteful approach from Sarah Jane to her, whereas Rose is like
I think
pure fizzing.
I think Sarah Jane kind of reacts to the spitefulness in a way that you would almost be like defensively. Like, she doesn't care that she doesn't travel with the Doctor anymore, but when Rose is suddenly like, he never mentions you, and she's like, I'm sorry, what? Excuse me?
Well, she's a bit more like taken aback by it because she's had the time to move on. It's why, like, at the end of the episode when the Doctor says you can come with me, she's like, actually no.
But
I'm okay.
She does react to the way Rose like speaks to her because I mean when they're having that argument in the middle, she's like, Daleks, and Rose is like,
I've
met
seen
the
things
Emperor.
You wouldn't believe.
It's like a kind of battle of it's like a pissing contest, but
it is. It's absolutely a pissing contest. But
not
but then there's that realization, that fantastic realization, they're both not as different as each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they start laughing about the Doctor stroking the TARDIS and explaining things at a million miles an hour and looking like you dribbled on your shirt and stuff like that. And seeing that dynamic, it's something that I kind of miss in modern Who.
It is
that
very much so. You
anymore.
don't get that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like there are two questions I've got from Jedi Spartan and Mark Warner. Jedi asked, unsure about our classic Who knowledge, but are there any other companions from the old era you'd like to see return at some point? And Mark Warner asked, who or what would you like to see come back or get a spin-off? The spin-off of Sarah Jane we'll get to in a bit. So, obviously, Ames, you don't know Classic Who.
I really don't know Classic Who.
Well.
The only episodes of Classic Who I've seen are Dalek stories, and you've shown me maybe 2 of them. You've shown me Remembrance of the Daleks because it's your favourite Classic Who story. And
it's favourite Doctor Who story and off.
Okay, favourite Doctor Who story. Yeah. And you showed me... Now, forgive me for this because I'm going to absolutely butcher my description of this. You showed me the one where...
Is it a Dalek story?
It is a Dalek story where... Yeah.
Which Doctor is it?
I can't remember.
Okay.
Where they're on the planet with the invisible people.
Oh, Planet of the Daleks.
And they have to escape out of the room by making a makeshift hot air balloon.
I love that. It sounds so ridiculous, but yeah, you're absolutely
bang on.
That's all I remember
from the episode.
That's Planet of the Daleks. It's Spiridon,
right?
Which is actually referenced in Remembrance of the Daleks as well.
Okay, yeah, well, that's all that's all
Speaking of Remembrance, it's Ace.
Yeah,
I just want Ace to come back because I love Ace so much.
I had someone at my old job tell me that they reminded me of the girl who plays.
Seriously,
Ace.
you would do a mean Ace cosplay
because they were wearing a Doctor Who top, and I went, "Oh, I like your top," and he went, "Oh, do you know who
Sophie Aldred
is. And I went, oh yeah, doesn't she play Ace? And he went, hey, you do know. I was like, yeah. He went, well, you look a lot like her.
Honestly,
I was like,
you are right.
Thanks.
you would do a really, really convincing Ace.
I think it's because I had a plait in at the time, and he was like, oh, you remind me of Sophie Aldred. I was like, oh.
That'll be a great costume for you. We're going to Doctor Who con.
Isn't she like blonde though, or like a bit?
She's no, she's very much brunette in Doctor Who.
Right.
I think as she's gotten older, her hair's gotten lighter.
Right, fair enough.
Unless she dyes it, but I know that when she last did some Doctor Who stuff, her hair looked a bit lighter. But yeah, it's Ace. It's absolutely Ace who I'd love to come back. I think her name's Dorothy, actually.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Eh?
Her character. She's called Dorothy.
Oh, not Ace.
No, Ace
see.
is like her nickname. I'm just going to Google it, because I'm pretty certain it's Dorothy.
I wouldn't know. Like I said, I can't answer your question, unfortunately, because I don't watch Classic Who. I don't know any companions from Classic Who.
Why is it not showing me her actual name?
But I feel like people who watch Doctor Who have all said the Rani, and I don't know what that is, or like...
The Rani is another Time Lord. The Rani is more of an enemy.
Right.
Well, the Rani is an enemy,
but
not
I
a
mean,
companion.
it still counts.
I would love to see the Rani come back. Dorothy Gale McShane.
Wow, that's a name. No wonder she goes by Ace.
That's her name.
Dorothy Gale McShane.
Yeah, I'd love to see Ace come back. She did do some audiobooks for Class.
All right.
Which Class I've never watched. Honestly,
yeah, I've heard about it.
I didn't watch Class, which is a shame because I watched Torchwood. I watched some of the Sarah Jane Adventures, but I never watched Class. Maybe it's comment section / Twitter. Let me know if Class is worth watching, because I know it got canned after one series.
Oof.
And Peter Capaldi does appear in it.
Oh my god, Peter Capaldi in the Who universe, right? I'm not being funny. That needs to be a video that you do on the WhoCulture channel. Is all the times Peter Capaldi has appeared in the Who universe and
the Peter Capaldi timeline.
How it relates to him being the Doctor later on. Because I swear to God, he is everywhere.
Yeah. But yeah, in answer to your question, Jedi Spartan and Mark Warner, just Ace. Just give me Ace back. I just want Ace. Obviously, we had Joe come back in Sarah Jane Adventures, who was in Planet of the Daleks.
Okay.
The blonde one.
Okay.
Yeah, she came back in Death to the Doctor, I think it's called, in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Right.
It's got the they're like weird ostriches, and they're voiced by David Bradley.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough.
Is it the Shan Sheath?
I've never seen it.
This is me like...
He's like thinking real hard.
It is the Shan Sheath.
Well
they're like
done.
They're like big weird ostriches. Ostriches. They're like vultures that shagged ostriches that shagged a really, really wrinkly ball sack.
What?
I'm gonna send you a picture right now.
Hairless cats, then.
No, I wouldn't go that far. There you go. I've just sent you a picture. Look at that. That's what they are.
Well, that is basically what a vulture looks like.
Yeah, I know, but it's because they like stood up so tall. They look like ostriches. It's weird. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, Ace. Give me Ace.
Okay.
I want Ace to come back.
Great. Thanks for that tangent.
You're welcome. It was a tangent of questions. It was fitting.
I wish you guys could see our Discord chat, by the way, because literally it's just weird pictures of Doctor Who stuff. We've got a melty face of Bo. We've now got weird vulture creatures. We've got a Sister of Plenitude costume that looks like a blooming... It's been squished and run over or something. It's just weird stuff from Doctor Who.
Oh, God, yeah. But yeah.
Where were we?
Where do we go from here? So we talked about Rose and Sarah Jane's relationship. K9!
K9!
I would miss about K9.
Oh my god.
What am I like? John Leeson back as K9, who we haven't seen
car.
We are in a car. Iconic. The only Classic Who episode that I actually own on DVD that has K9 in it is The Leisure Hive, where Romana is on... I think they're in Brighton, and Romana throws a beach ball into the sea, and K9 just goes after it and just literally just explodes when he hits the water.
What the shit?
And it's like, why is that? Why did K9 follow it in? Like, you complete tit. So K9's not even in the serial. He's just at the beginning, blows up, and then just stays in the TARDIS.
Great.
And I had this discussion with people on the WhoCulture Discord, just like, is the Leisure Hive complete crap? Because it was like the second classic Who serial I ever watched.
Right.
And yeah, it's
Apparently
quite
it is.
peculiar.
Right.
But K9's back for the first time in God knows how long. He tried to have his own spin-off. I think he did have his own spin-off back in...
What was it called?
K9 and Company.
Oh.
Which whenever I'd see the name of it in on like Wikipedia or something, I always thought it was maybe like just a coincidence that it was called K9. But no, it was actually
a spin-off.
It was actually a spin-off series. It was a spin-off series. It was a television pilot.
Good
that obviously
boy,
never got picked up because it's... Yeah, I mean, even like Sarah Jane Adventures, where K9 would technically exist, because K9 is Sarah Jane's dog.
Yeah.
He's barely in it.
I know.
He's barely in Sarah Jane Adventures. Most of the time, he spends like floating in a bloody void through a hole in the wall in Sarah Jane's loft, or at least that's what I remember. But it's really cool to see him back. To see a little boy back.
I like him. He's cute.
He is cute.
And then Mickey's like, "Oh my god, I'm the tin dog.
I'm the tin dog. I'm the technical support. Oh my god, I'm the tin dog." But it's like that parallel of Mickey to K9. It's not wrong.
Mm-mm.
Like, he is
Not
the technical
at all.
support. Like, he's the one at the computer to save the world in Aliens in London World War 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's the person who's at his computer at the beginning of this episode saying, "I was right to call you in," and la-di-da, and stuff like that. So he is right, but it's like K9 played such a pivotal role in the Doctor's life back in the 70s. It's obviously goes to show that it's the same with Mickey.
Mm-hmm. Mickey
So,
the idiot. Even though he's not called Mickey the idiot anymore.
No, it's like...
Sad face.
Comparing yourself to K9 is not a bad thing.
Mm-mm. Nah, K9's dope, man.
K9's great. Why does he look so disco? I love that line so much.
Hey, that's my dog.
Yeah. I just... it's... And then Mickey like laughing at him. Oh, it's a voice.
I just love
when
K9.
John Leeson's back in.
He's so cute.
It's like, do we see him again in Doctor Who?
Substance is corylidane oil. I don't think so.
Analysing. I don't think we do. Even when Sarah Jane comes back with Luke in like Stolen Earth Journey's End.
Oh my god, yeah, I forgot about that.
K9's not there.
No.
Another thing, K9, just get K9 back. K9 Mark 5.
Yeah, I want K9 back, okay? Let's put that out right now.
Yeah, let's get K9 back in.
His little tail wagging. Which bit was it where I turned around to you and I was like, "Oh my god, look at his little tails wagging"?
I think it's at the end when the Doctor is like saying, and K9 says, "Oh, I can fire my weapon at the vat and it will explode, but I need to be directly beside it."
Yeah.
And he's like giving him a good head pat and he wags his tail.
He goes,
and
"Good boy," and he goes, "Affirmative."
Affirmative.
And he's
like,
little wagging his tail. It's so cute. I know he's metal, but like, he's a dog. I love
he's
dogs.
Cute.
You can't not love dogs.
Could you imagine, like, they did a big remote control K9. I used to have a little remote control K9.
Oh my god, if they did a big one.
Could you imagine it? They did a big one, not like full size, but they did like a relatively large one. Imagine like trundling that through your house and watching your dogs go nuts.
My dogs wouldn't know what to do with it. Fish would just stare and watch it. Yes,
Joey
my
would
dog
just
is
crap
called.
himself.
Just to clarify, my dog is called Fish.
Well, she's not.
She's not. She's called Poppy, but for the sake of purposes, she's called Fish. Okay. Joey would literally just be there, like, "What the shit is this? What is this? What is happening? I don't understand." But he'd probably just like stare at it, like he stares at everything.
Yeah.
But nah, I think the rest of them would just. I don't know how much they'd pay attention to it, really.
Yeah.
But, I mean to be fair, though, if they did make a life-size one, what's that website that makes life-size Daleks? They could probably make a life-size K9.
They probably do.
They probably do.
They do, like, TARDISes and other costumes.
Oh, well, they'd
as well,
probably
so
easily
would
make a
do.
K9 then. If it's
K9
not remote control, we're going to be having words.
I mean, we could easily just put some wheels in it. We're not buying a K9.
We're not buying no.
If I can't buy a full-size Dalek, you cannot buy a
Where
full-size K9.
would we put a full-size Dalek?
I don't know, in the garden.
It's not going to go in the garden.
I know.
As much as that would be cool.
Yeah. So, in regards to the actual, like, the main plot, the Krillitanes have come to the school. They're using the children to break the stasis paradigm, which is basically a theory of everything. If you break the code, you become a god. Like, basically,
you have control of the universe.
You understand the building blocks of the universe, and you can just go from there. And the thing that I find fascinating about this episode, when they're up in the IT room and there's Rose, and I think it's after Rose and Sarah Jane have had their little laughing fit, and the doctor walks in, and then the kids start doing the paradigm thing. They lock the school down and blah blah blah. They kill the rest of the staff, and Mr. Finch comes upstairs into the room, and he's talking about being gods, and he's like, we can make, the doctor says, make the universe all in the image of Mr. Finch. And he's like, no, we can make this place better. And the thing that I find fascinating is, as much as they are they get to this position by force.
Yeah.
Which obviously very heavily implies that they are the bad guys, which is completely understandable. But when Anthony Head delivers that little speech about becoming a god, and then saying like, we can have someone like you, like we can have power, but you can give us wisdom. Like, as much as it's a means of like cancelling out a threat, I do find it fascinating to understand what they would really do.
Yeah.
Because unlike, say, the Master in The End of Time, he's not trying to turn everything into Krillitanes. He just wants to make the world better. I feel like, as much as it's not as explored, because you've got 45 minutes, comparative to, say, Thanos in the MCU. Thanos is a villain. End of story.
Yeah.
But the motivation for his villainous ways is understandable. Like when we had this sort of discussion about Harriet Jones at the end of Christmas Invasion, like,
is she
was that
foe?
act evil?
Yeah.
Yes. Was that act justified?
Yes.
Also yes. Thanos is the same, and depending on what, like,
what
the proposal is,
I keep calling it Anthony Head, but Finch.
What his proposal is for the universe with him at the helm. We don't know what he would do. If he turned around and said, we'll take over the universe and we'll burn every creature that's not us and blah 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 blah, then you'd know that there is a villainous side to it. The Doctor just, as Anthony's Head, sorry, you made me say it now. As Mr. Finch says, you're so fascinated with the past. You want to preserve things as they are. Why not look to evolve? It's almost like the Doctor's a Tory. He just wants things to stay as they are.
Well, I think no. Let's not compare the Doctor to a Tory, shall we? I like the Doctor. I think the point of like the speech is to sort of, because this is the first time. I'd say the first time in Doctor Who that we've come across a villain that isn't outright just a villain. That isn't, like, in New Who anyway, sorry. We've come across a villain that isn't either completely, like, misunderstood, like the empty child.
You're not completely, like, innocent,
But they're a villain that is trying to actively make decisions to change something, but they are not necessarily outright evil.
Yeah,
people.
we don't know. Again, we don't know whether it's going to be for better or for worse.
Yeah.
They may tweet in the same way. It's like, yes, we're gonna, as I'll make the comparison to Thanos, like, we're gonna kill 50% of the population of the universe, but it makes it better for the other 50%. So it's like, oh, that's horrible, but also...
See, the thing is, obviously, you do know that these people are evil because they're eating children, like, they're just eating the staff, like
as
that.
Said, they got to this position where they could break the stasis paradigm by force.
But I think the reason that Finch puts that argument to the Doctor in the way he puts it is, well, A, to get one over on him in a certain way.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
But B, because it, like, is really difficult for the Doctor, because as you can see, Rose and Sarah Jane are in the background, sort of like, Doctor, don't listen to him. And they genuinely are having to almost talk him down, because the Doctor is, like, tempted, like, really tempted, because Finch comes in and he's like, does he say something? I can't remember, again, it's been like 2 weeks since we watched it. But does he say something about bringing his people back?
Yeah, he talks about bringing the Time Lords back.
And so obviously the Doctor's really tempted by this kind of like, oh my God, I could make everything right again.
Because he's still very raw. Yeah. Still raw from the Time War.
So, yeah, it's. I think the argument was designed to sort of make him and the audience both kind of think like, is this genuinely could this be a good thing? I mean, from the audience perspective that it's like, nah, he's just pulling a fast one on you, mate. But
if it were outlined that, like, what he would have done with the Skater's paradigm broken, then, you could make a decision whether what he wanted to do was good or bad. It's just heavily implied that they're bad because they're the villain of the week for Doctor Who. And yeah, as you say, they've been killing people to further their own agenda, which usually means they're bad people.
I mean, you don't kill someone if you're a good person, really, do you?
Depending on who the person you kill is. But anyway.
I mean, that's getting too heavy now. Let's move on.
Good person kills Hitler, is that okay? We'll get to that in Series 6, baby!
Oh god, let's kill Hitler, lol. Anyway,
that was a thing, wasn't
it?
Point. And yeah, the actual plot ends with, as said, K9 blowing up the Krillitane oil because they know that it's toxic. When they're all in the kitchen, they gather them all together just conveniently, and then Kanon blows them up. And Mickey gets the kids out of school. We are in a car, take down the front doors because Kenny's not eating the chips. He's not able to participate, so he's just sort of outside the classes. How he manages to go unnoticed by the rest of the teachers, I have no idea.
Probably because they just are too focused on them breaking the
maybe they're just like, well,
paradigm.
He's one kid, what is he going to do?
Yeah, literally. And also, they've already shown that they're not going to eat him, because when he finds the black teacher as a bat, he doesn't get eaten because the teacher's
I think it's because they
run
can't
along,
feed on
Kenny.
They can't feed on the kids because there will be
and some sort of
people will notice. Whereas an orphan, as much as people would notice, it's not going to be as big of a deal.
Yeah.
I guess that sounds really horrible towards orphans, but that's how they kind of justify it in the show. Anyway, K9 blows them up, and then one of the things I don't know whether I asked you this or whether I think we both thought this at the same time. How does the school explode?
Yeah, because I was like,
you have literally you see the vat of oil explode. Not only does it just splash oil everywhere.
Yeah, because that's what I was like. I was like, it just splashes oil all over them. It doesn't actually explode, and then you're in the next shot, and then all of a sudden the school's blown up.
Because at first I thought that's a really obviously the idea of the school blowing up and all the kids cheer and it's like Kenny blew up the school and we all love Kenny now. We don't just ignore him because assumedly he's a bit of an outcast of a character.
I mean, he's a bit of a nerdy kid, isn't it? You can tell.
Yeah, but then I pointed out the fact that the dinner lady. The dinner lady earlier on gets that little splash of it, and she flashes in like a hot flash, and whatever happens to her.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because Rose is like, "Is she okay?" And she's like, "It's fine." She does that.
She obviously catches fire or something. So imagine all of these Krillitane all together in a relatively enclosed space inside a school kitchen. They all are all like sodden in Krillitane oil, and then they all do this hot flash thing. They're in a kitchen with chips, deep up fryers, which means there's oil everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Gas
and gas. Yeah, so obviously the actual school blowing up actually does make sense.
It does if you think about it.
But it just if you like sort of half glance, it's kind of like that didn't that.
But
that
you almost
strange.
Kind of wish that they'd gone from them being splashed with oil to seeing the explosion start inside the kitchen, just to give you some form of how the explosion started, because going from them just being in oil to the school blowing up seemed really tangentially related, and it was kind of
I feel like if there were one of the Krillitane people stood by I don't know, the Hobbs, and you see them flash up in the background, for example, and you hear the sort of sound of gas, and you see Mr. Finch look around as you hear the hiss of gas start to build. I feel like as much as that would make more sense to contextualize the explosion, it would also feel a lot more gruesome.
It would be.
Probably that's why they step away from that.
I mean, you don't have to see any people exploding. You could just
literally... I don't mean that, but it means it's more. I think it's more deliberately implied. To not show or to not really put you in that position. You could easily show a matte painting of a school being blown up and be like, there's nobody in there. But if you really contextualize it,
alternatively,
and you really feel like there's somebody in there, then it will feel different.
Alternatively, what they could have done
away from it.
Was just showed K9 lasering the oil, and instead of the oil just the can bursting and splattering, because they could have just had the laser heat the oil and the oil being the thing that caused the explosion. That would have made more sense, because then at least you sort of... But then they wouldn't have had that bit where Anthony Head is you bad dog, and he's affirmative.
Affirmative.
And then you get the explosion. So obviously that was the point of that, wasn't it? So
yeah. So it is a little bit oh my god, the
What's
word
the
is
word
just completely left me.
for?
Abrupt.
Yeah.
Like a little bit abrupt.
Can he be at
feels
school?
But it does seem to work contextually. You have that moment of realizing that the Doctor's going to say goodbye to K9. Obviously, he rebuilds him and makes K9 Mark IV and so on. He gives him back to Sarah Jane after he leaves. Like, that's all really nice.
He rebuilt you. That's such, like, honestly, I actually cry when that bit happens, when Sarah Jane gets reunited with K9. It's so, because she's like, that was my dog, I'm gonna be all on my own. Like, that was kind of like the last living memory that she had of, like, the Doctor.
When the Doctor's like, we need to run, and when she's like, where's K9? Like, where is he? And that look at defeat, like, Mickey and Rose and all the kids are ecstatic that this has happened. Obviously no idea it was all aliens and stuff. They just see their school blow up. Then the Doctor's sort of a bit more like not like neutral. I think he's just not showing anything, and there's just Sarah Jane looking completely defeated.
I think the thing about the Doctor being neutral though is because he really didn't want to like kill them all. He gave them a chance. He said, like,
it's true.
You either take this and leave, or I'll have to stop you.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing I like about David's Doctor is his moral compass is very set. Like, he gives you one chance, you break that chance, or he can't be held responsible for his actions. Like, and that's what I kind of like is, like, you get that fairness. And in the history of Doctor Who, no one, despite the fact that supposedly the Doctor's legacy, like, surpasses him, no one in the history of Doctor Who has ever gone, yeah, do you know what? I'll take that warning and leave. Thank you very much. I'll survive for another day. Take care.
It would be an interesting... I think the only way they'll be able to get that over in the series is if they literally come into the episode with them in the middle of something. Kind of like... The first thing that's come to mind of them being in the middle of something like almost completely irrelevant was in Torchwood. I think it's the first episode of series 2 where they're chasing the weird blowfish dude around Cardiff.
The car.
And then they shoot the guy in that family's living room, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So I feel that's the only way they could do that. Like the Doctor, like literally a confrontation to open the episode. You take this warning and go, and they go,
yeah,
okay,
sure,
roll titles.
Why not?
Like that should be quite funny. But after that, Sarah comes to the TARDIS. She sees it. There's the whole "you've redecorated" line. Oh, I love it. She really likes it. And there's the do you want to come? She says no. And then Mickey says, "Can I come?"
Can I come?
And Rose has a face like a slapped ass.
Oh. Yeah, fine, great. Why not?
And it's like, I think the thing is, it's like, is that more of an annoyance of like, this is like to Mickey of this is our thing, like this is mine and the Doctor's thing. You shouldn't be here as well, or do you think it's a case of
it's
Rose
definitely
being
a
like,
case of Rose being infatuated with the Doctor, and now she's got a hold off on that because Mickey's there.
Yeah, now I can't be all cutesy face.
Because the thing is, she wouldn't. I don't think she minds. I mean, obviously, I think it's a mixture of both. Like, no, this is our thing. Like, we've been doing this, blah 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 blah. But I don't think she minds Mickey being there for like 1 or 2, because obviously he's helped them out. He's been there for 1 or 2, like, of the sort of adventures that they've had. So I don't think it's so much of a thing like she doesn't want him there for the adventure. She's just kind of like, great, now I can't fawn over the Doctor and be in a relationship with him that I want, because Mickey's going to be here and I feel like I'm going to have to be in a relationship with him. Despite the fact that at this point, I feel like she's kind of in a relationship with neither of them and both of them at the same time.
So it's weird because it's like it's going to make the dynamic awkward, but in reality it doesn't. It's not too bad. And maybe like going back to watching these next couple of episodes, because he's only really with them for like 3 episodes.
Yeah. Oh my god. The next episode is so good. I'm super excited.
I'm intrigued to be able to pick apart that relationship a bit more. So
yeah, me too.
So, but that's going to be really fun. But just to sort of wrap up on the narrative of this, obviously Sarah Jane says goodbye. Obviously it's not the last time we see her, because she does go off to do her spin-off series, which somebody did ask. I think it was Matthew Keck, yes. And he asked about whether this was episode was solely to introduce the Sarah Jane adventures, and after doing some research, no, that's not the case.
The Sarah Jane adventures happened after.
Sarah Jane adventures happened after. The BBC were wanting a kids Doctor Who spin-off thing. As for what it was going to be, it wasn't sure. And originally Elizabeth Sladen apparently wasn't going to come back for this episode, until she realised that she was actually like the focal point.
Like one of the focal points, yeah.
It wasn't like a cameo. She was there to be Sarah Jane again for an episode, and she was like, "You're obviously going to jump at the chance." So she did it, and then after that point, the concept of the Sarah Jane Adventures came. So that's how that happened. It wasn't done as like a backdoor pilot, but it did. I think it was almost like a light bulb moment for the BBC and Russell T Davies to go, "Oh, actually,
this works.
That could work."
Yeah.
So, yeah, that answers that. But when she sees K9, new K9, all happy, and
all the waggly.
When they this is the third thing I had written down. When they walk off, she says, "Come on, we've got work to do." And I'm here thinking, I feel like it's kind of obvious, but it could also be a coincidence. But I'm going to assume it's obvious that is a reference to Survival, which is when Doctor Who got cancelled in 1989, because that is literally the last thing Sylvester McCoy's Doctor says.
Oh, that's cute.
Is, "Come on, Ace, we've got work to do."
Aww.
And for some reason, after all these years of watching it, only when we watched it the other week did I realise, hang on a second, that's what Sylvester McCoy says. Is that like a direct sort of reference to the classic series that isn't just, look, it's Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
Let's put this reference to 1989 in, which is just super cool.
That's cute. I didn't know that.
Well, there you go. There's a fun fact for you, Amy, and a fun fact for the people listening. But
didn't you have a couple more questions?
Yes, I've got one more question. There is a question that's probably a bit tough to answer in a short time, so we might have to leave that one. But it's one
you can always ask it to me, and we'll go away and think about it.
It's a slightly more open question that you could really apply to anything, so not necessarily just this. But it's Hannah Forster asked about child actors,
right?
And have there been moments where the children have acted better than the adults? So that'll be one we'll have to try and keep in mind throughout the series, because there have been examples of fantastic child actors. As much as she's not really a child, I always think back to like Nancy because I'm assuming she was a teenager when in Empty Child.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously she seems quite young in that. Obviously not necessarily a child actor, but you know.
I think they do like, as much as you do get very, very occasional child actors like the ones in
I must admit, the young boy who plays whatever the kid's name is it George in Night Terrors?
Oh yeah,
he is very good.
No, who am I thinking of?
You get people like
thinking of the two kids in the Christmas special who smile when they're not supposed to in that big crowd. Child actors like that, not necessarily better than the adults, but yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing we'll keep in mind, that one about child actors. We'll have to try and point out.
Because the thing about Doctor Who is, I feel like, despite the fact that it's a family show, the children who are like acting in it, there aren't many. Correct me if I'm wrong. There aren't many stories that center around children as not like sort of one of the main relationships to the story. Like this episode is a good example because children just happen to be a byproduct of what's going on. Like they're not, the main focus isn't the kids, it's the Krillitanes. Like whereas in like, for example, that's like a good example of where like child actors are sort of used like as kind of like an extra to the story. Whereas like I feel like later on you don't get many child actors in Doctor Who either aren't the villain or who aren't related to like the Doctor. So like Amy Pond when she's a child, or like, you know, things like that. Like I said,
Amy Pond when she's a child is like is a slightly different case because obviously it's the same character but just a younger
but
version.
like correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, because I don't really remember
George.
I
think it's George. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. If it is Night Terrors.
You mean the one where the thing's in the wardrobe?
Yeah.
Yes, it is George, and I love.
So that's one example
of
a. That's one example of an episode that is a bit more like focused on the child. But I know what you mean. Like you don't get that often. You get like a child to really stay with like as a companion dynamic to the Doctor throughout the course of the episode. You don't really see that as much. Again, we might be wrong. There might be a few more that we'll think of. But yeah, it's a strange. It's a direction Doctor Who hasn't really gone in as much. So we'll keep an ear out for that one, Hannah. And finally, Hey, it's Bertie. Okay, asks a very very off-topic question, but I had to put this in. Do you guys even remember collecting those Doctor Who Battles in Time trading cards? I'm guessing by the look on Amy's face, that's a no for you.
No, I had Doctor Who sticker books.
Of course you did. I had Battles in Time trading cards. I bought loads of them. Nobody I knew did.
Well, exactly.
Nobody played like the game, but apart from actually very relevant at school dinners. Actually, again, I used the money that my parents gave me one day to buy a shiny Special Weapons Dalek off another kid in my school.
What a great use of your money.
I went hungry that day to have a shiny piece of card with my favourite Dalek.
When you were that old, I bet that was the best decision you'd ever made in your life.
I would have been like 12, 11, 12.
You were probably like, oh my God, I can't believe I've done this.
Yeah. Oh, Flip, I can't believe you've done this. As I go hungry for a day to get a piece of card. But yeah.
Mate, you'd have eaten dinner when you got home. You'd have been alright.
I was. Next time, we're going back to France.
Oh my God. Okay,
because
so I know every time
fireplace.
we've recorded this podcast, I've been like, oh my God, the next episode's so good. Oh my God, the next episode's so good. But like, literally, The Girl in the Fireplace is one of my favourite episodes. Like, it's
a Moffat episode.
Good. Is it really?
It's a Moffat episode.
Wow.
Yeah. Moffat, as we've said before, Moffat in series 1 to 4 is absolutely pristine. So we'll get to Moffat's. I don't want to say downfall, but like that the perceived highs of him being showrunner versus what actually happened was like.
But The Girl in the Fireplace is smashing.
But yeah, Girl in the Fireplace is something else.
So good.
So look forward to that whenever that may be. Again, this will be a more as and when thing. We'll keep you posted on Twitter and in Discord as to when we will be filming. We'll always be trying to get it at least every 2 weeks. But again, it depends on what life decides to throw at us.
What I
please bear that in mind.
Attempted to do is write us up a brief schedule for the next couple of weeks so that we can release episodes maybe every couple of weeks, every 3 weeks over Christmas, so that you guys won't necessarily have like a really long break over Christmas, because both Rich and I are on holiday for a good sort of portion of time over Christmas.
2-3 weeks. Yeah.
Rich is on holiday for like 2-3 weeks. I'm on holiday for a week. I'm also away in 2 weeks' time, so therefore it's going to be like a bit of back and forth between like when we're going to get to record and when we're not going to get to record. So yeah, apologies, but we're trying. Like, we really are trying, and we do enjoy doing it. Like, it's not like we're avoiding it or anything.
Yeah, but please bear with us, and thank you for waiting. And as long as the tweets or the messages aren't like aggressive, I do appreciate the fact that people are like, I want the next podcast.
Like, if you're messaging us to be like, hey, like, any idea when the next podcast might be? Like, I'm more than happy to reply and say, at the moment, no, like, maybe not, or hopefully it'll be this, hopefully it'll be that.
But if you're going to be like,
oi, idiots, you haven't recorded in ages, like, come on, I need my content. Like, no, we're not going to respond because that's not fair.
Thank you for bearing with us. It'll be, hopefully we'll be back in, ideally, like, week after next, if we're sticking for fortnightly, because fortnightly does seem a bit more feasible for us, as said. But yeah, we'll keep you in the loop over on Twitter. You can follow me at PickupChangeToe.
And you can follow me at Ames_Elizabeth.
Indeed. Well, thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Get ready for Girl in the Fireplace in case you haven't already watched it, which you probably already have if you've not been able to wait for the podcast to come out so you can continue watching. We apologise. Otherwise, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.